Do you know why you're struggling so much in your life right now? Why you feel like you need somebody who can guide you in life? Do you know why most people are not able to crack most of the entrance exams? Most people, they actually have bad mentors in life. And that is why they're not able to get that correct direction in life. And so you end up making so many mistakes in your life. And then after all of those mistakes, you're able to reach that place of success. But a lot of people in that phase, when they're struggling so much, they just lose hope. And that feeling of demotivation, it just sinks in and you stop midway. And that's why it's so important to find the right mentor in your life. But we just don't know what it means to have the right teacher or the right mentor in life. And you're not to be blamed because all of us have a flawed idea of what it means to have the right teacher in our life. And in this video, I'm going to talk about exactly this. First, I'm going to tell you what it means to have the right mentor. And second, I'm going to tell you how you can find that right mentor for yourself. Let me give you a little bit of background. I started teaching piano to students 5 years ago. And since then, I've started from zero to having 100 students at my academy. And I was able to do all of that just through word of mouth. So trust me, I know what it means to be the right teacher for students. And I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to look for. Now, before I explain the exact qualities that are required into becoming a good mentor or to find a good mentor for yourself, I'm first going to talk about the mindset that most of us have when we're choosing a teacher to guide us in life. So in India specifically, we look at the credibility of the person a lot. And when I talk about credibility, we talk about, have you been able to do the same that you're going to guide us into? Or how much money have you been able to make? And barely ever any person looks at the personal qualities of the mentor or if it's best suited with their own personality or not. Let me start with an example. Let's say you want to learn entrepreneurship and you go to Mark Zuckerberg, and this is a completely hypothetical situation, by the way. So you go to Mark Zuckerberg and you ask him, hey, can you teach me entrepreneurship? And he's going to sit with you. He's going to teach you certain things, but he's quite impatient, let's say. And any question that you end up asking him, he gets very irritated by it and he just wants you to listen to him talk about how to be an entrepreneur endlessly. And since he's already at such a big level, maybe he's not able to think from a mindset where you're just starting out. And see, that's exactly what happens. So many professors in business schools are actually questioned on the basis of their credibility. A lot of peers ask them, well, you haven't created that 100 crore startup or you haven't made that unicorn startup. So who are you to teach us entrepreneurship? And that is such a wrong mindset to look at for your mentors or your teachers. Because according to this mindset, a person should have accomplished something absolutely phenomenal in order to teach you that. And this is exactly where we go wrong. We are looking for somebody who's achieved something big. And that person who's achieved that big thing, maybe he or she is a really bad teacher. I've been teaching music for the past 5 years. And when I started out my journey, a lot of students, they'd look at me and they'd think, well, you're so young. I'm not really sure if you have that much of an experience to teach a young child. So I wasn't even given that first opportunity to teach somebody. So many times my credibility was questioned simply because 1, I didn't have enough experience or 2, I didn't look old enough. Well, at that time, it really hurt. But now when I reflect back upon it, it really makes sense. If I were at that same stage, I would have also been very skeptical trusting somebody who's so young. When I got my first student, I gave my heart and soul into making sure that I'm giving my best into teaching the student. Guess what? She was so young, yet still she was able to give so many exams in piano itself. And through word of mouth, through just that one student, I got the next 5 students in my academy. This was the journey which took me to 100 plus students at my academy just through word of mouth. And you know what the parents used to tell me? They tell me, well, my child has been taking classes for the past 5 years with an experienced teacher, really experienced teacher. But for some reason, they relate a lot more with you and they're able to give the exams more quickly with you. And when I really thought about it, I finally realized why that was. And this is exactly what's going to help you in realizing what the right qualities are for the perfect mentor for yourself. So number 1 is patience. So have you ever seen the kind of questions that kids often ask? They're so curious to know everything about the world. When I also started my journey as a teacher, I had a student who would ask me why or what for each and everything that I was sharing. I ended up telling her that piano was invented in Italy. So she'd ask me, well, where is Italy? And I'd tell her, well, Italy is at this place called Europe. And she'd ask me, well, where is Europe? So I would tell her, well, I can't really describe Europe to you, but I can tell you where Italy is. It's the place where you get pizzas and pastas. And then she'd say, oh, well, that's fascinating, but you get pizzas and pastas in US as well. The tirade of questions that my students would ask me were endless. So that's the thing with students. We have so many burning questions. We're so curious to know more. And oftentimes the teachers around us, they tamp down that curiosity. They often say, well, that's a stupid question. Or let's move on. We have to move on to this next thing. So instead of answering your curiosity or encouraging you to ask more, a lot of teachers, they get impatient and they just want to teach what they came to teach. So patience is something which is foremost in terms of finding the best mentor for yourself. Any teacher who's not patient just cannot be a teacher or be a mentor. Let's come to the second quality which is very essential in any teacher or any mentor. And that is going to be to not think from an experience level, but rather come down to the student's eye level. So has this ever happened with you in maths lessons when the teacher is describing something, a very complicated formula or a very complicated concept, you're just not able to understand that at all. So you go to your friend and your friend ends up sitting with you and explaining that same formula or the same concept to you, and it makes sense. Well, you're not the only one. It has happened with me countless number of times. The thing is, when the teachers are teaching, they're teaching from a very experienced mindset. They already know half of the things, so they can't come down to the student level. But when you sit with your friend, well, he or she, they've also learned the concept with you in the class recently. And that's why they can use jargons. They can actually make you help understand the concept at an easier level. This ability to understand that the students will not be able to understand things from an experienced level, but rather we have to come to the student level to make them understand things is very essential. But unfortunately, I can tell you with guarantee that 80 to 90% of teachers don't think in this way. Because they've been teaching for so long, they've been teaching in the same pattern that they get stuck in that loop. This is something which you should absolutely look out for when you're looking for a mentor for yourself. So I remember I was teaching this complicated concept in music called sight reading to some of my students. It's these fancy notes that you see associated with music. So a lot of teachers, they would just begin with telling you what these notes mean and how you're supposed to, clap through it. I'm not going to get into the technicalities, but what I did with my students was, instead of teaching them like this, I devised a new way of teaching. So instead of using the notes like this, I'd make a flower and I'd tell them, well, this is the flower note. Then I'd draw a snake and I'd tell them that this is a snake note. And then I'd draw a caterpillar to tell them that's a caterpillar note. So the initial learning phase of sight reading, I taught most of my students through animals, through flowers, through nature around them, and they were able to retain that so much better than simply drawing the notes as they are. And this is the power of finding a creative mentor for yourself. They're going to make that learning journey so much more easier for you, and you're going to retain that for a long time to come. You're not just going to forget it after the exam. And I think this is very essential when it comes to teaching. So only passionate teachers can actually make learning more engaging. When you're not so passionate about teaching, it's just a job to you. You just want to get it done. But if you're actually really passionate about teaching, you'll make sure that the student really understands. And to find those passionate teachers, it's very rare. But if you look out for them, you will find them. If you've seen Kota Factory, you can see that kind of passion in Jeetu Bhaiya as well. And you see that kind of dedication that he really wanted his students to succeed. It was just not another, profit-making business for him. He really wanted his students to succeed. So when it comes to actually doing anything big in life and finding a mentor for yourself, imagine the kind of impact you can have in your life if you have a teacher like Jeetu Bhaiya. Let's come to the next quality, which I feel is extremely important when it comes to being teachers. It's that we're always chasing numbers, right? And we're barely ever chasing the fact does our student understand exactly everything that we're talking about? So if you're a student who scored 99% in their exam, the teacher is extremely happy. But a good teacher should be sad that not all of his students scored 100%. If a student is scoring 99%, then there's a chance that they didn't understand one concept because of which they got the marks deducted. And as a teacher, it's our responsibility to teach everything to the students so that all of them are able to score 100%. Over time, we've gotten so obsessed with chasing numbers that scoring a 99% or a 99.5% is just good enough. No, it should never be good enough. All of your students should be scoring 100%. That is a testament that yes, that the students have understood everything that I've taught them. If they're not able to score that 100%, then that means the mentor has a lot of work cut out for them. They've got to keep teaching again and again and again until the student is able to score 100%. And that's what it means to be a good, passionate mentor who wants the best for their students. Let's come to the final strategy, which I feel is extremely important when it comes to being a mentor, and that is being sensitive and sympathetic. I've seen so many professors in DU, I studied from DU, and they're so insensitive to other people's plight. So I remember I had gone through a surgery because of which I couldn't sit. I was on complete bed rest, and during that time I ended up getting COVID as well because I was going to the hospital every day to get my dressing changed. I ended up sharing that with my teacher, with my professor, and she ended up telling me, well, you sound a bit fake. You sound like, you're making up things just to not give exam. And I told her, you know what, I'm going to send you all of the papers. But the tone in which she talked to me, it was so scarring. I mean, I was going through so much pain, and she ended up adding to that pain, and she gave me so much stress. So I think one thing that all mentors should be good at is being more sensitive. So if you have somebody who's pushing you, but sometimes pushing you in a way that it seems insensitive, and if they're pushing you in a way that it feels like they don't understand your pain at all, then that means that they're not the right mentor. Trust me when I tell you this, the right mentor can actually bring out the best in you. If you have seen my YouTube banner, I say exactly this. Every child, every student is worth a lot more than they think. It just takes the right mentor to bring out the best in that person. So you need to be willing to take that first step. And trust me, if you find the right mentor for yourself, they're going to be able to extract that best version in you. With so much years of experience, with so much relatability that I've created with so many of my students, I truly believe I've reached a stage where I can actually connect with a lot of my students and bring out the best in them. And that is exactly why I started making content on YouTube, because I wanted to guide students into making the right decisions in life. And trust me, I wouldn't have had this spectacular growth on YouTube where I've made 2K subscribers, more than 2K subscribers in less than a month. It's simply because so many students could actually relate with me. They could actually connect with me. I know this video was like a big rant, but I really hope you were able to take some value from this video and actually implement that in your life. So if you found this valuable and you actually experience it and you actually think more about it, then share your opinions and your experience in the comments below, because your comment can actually help a lot of other people who are probably going through the same thing as you. Well, I wish you good luck. You take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.